The morning mist clung to the valley like a gentle blanket, soft and silver in the early light. Thomas Walker had been riding his fence line for 3 hours, checking posts and wire with the practiced eye of a man who had worked this land for 15 years. His bay mare, Copper, picked her way carefully along the rocky path that bordered the old railroad tracks. Thomas was a man of 42, weathered by sun and wind, with hands that spoke of honest work and a heart that had grown quiet over the years. His ranch stretched across 800 acres of Montana wilderness, beautiful and vast, but lately it felt more like a prison than a home. The silence had become too heavy, too complete. That's when he saw her. She was sitting beside the tracks, her back against a weathered fence post, looking as lost as a person could be. Her dark hair was disheveled, her blue dress torn at the hem, and she clutched a small carpetbag in her arms like it contained everything she owned, which, Thomas would later learn, it did. He dismounted slowly, not wanting to frighten her. The woman looked up at him with eyes the color of storm clouds, and he could see she had been crying. Her face was pale, but there was something in her expression that wasn't defeat. It was determination, mixed with exhaustion. "Ma'am," Thomas said softly, removing his hat. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head, then seemed to reconsider. "Not in the way you mean," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. I fell asleep on the train. When I woke up, I was somewhere I didn't recognize, and the conductor, he said I didn't have proper papers for this territory. He made me get off." Thomas frowned. The railroad had been having problems with documentation lately, especially for women traveling alone. It was a harsh policy, one that left people stranded in the middle of nowhere. "Where were you headed?" "California," she said, looking down at her hands. "I was going to my sister's ranch. I have her letter here, but the conductor said it wasn't official enough." She pulled a crumpled envelope from her bag. "I'm Sarah Mitchell. I was running from something." Someone, the way she said it, told Thomas everything he needed to know. He had seen that particular kind of fear before, in the eyes of other women who had come through these parts seeking refuge. He also noticed she wore no wedding ring, though there was a pale band of skin on her finger where one had been. "Well, Miss Mitchell," Thomas said, settling his hat back on his head, "you can't stay out here. The nights get cold, and there are wolves in these hills. My ranch is about 2 miles north. You're welcome to rest there while we figure out how to get you back on your way." Sarah looked up at him with surprise. "You don't know me," she said. "I could be anyone." "So could I," Thomas replied with a gentle smile. "But I figure we all deserve a chance to prove who we are, rather than being judged for who we might be." The ride to the ranch house was quiet, with Sarah riding behind Thomas on Copper's broad back. She held onto his coat with trembling hands, and he could feel her exhaustion in the way she leaned against him. The ranch house came into view as they crested a small hill, a sturdy log structure with a wide porch and smoke curling from the chimney. "It's beautiful," Sarah whispered, and Thomas felt a warmth in his chest that had been absent for years. Over the following days, Sarah helped around the ranch while Thomas made inquiries about train schedules and proper documentation. She was handy with a needle and thread, mending his torn shirts and curtains. She could cook better than he could, turning simple ingredients into meals that filled the house with warmth and wonderful smells. Most importantly, she filled the silence with gentle conversation and quiet laughter. On the third evening, as they sat on the porch, watching the sunset paint the mountains purple and gold, Sarah finally told him her story. She had been married to a man in Denver who had grown cruel and violent. When she tried to leave, he had threatened to kill her. She had saved every penny she could, planning her escape for months. "I sold my wedding ring to buy the train ticket," she said quietly. "I thought I was free, but then, You are free," Thomas said firmly. "Whatever happened before, whatever brought you here, you're safe now." Sarah turned to look at him, and in her eyes he saw something that made his heart skip. It wasn't just gratitude. It was the beginning of trust, and maybe something more. "Thomas," she said slowly, "what if I didn't go to California? What if I stayed here?" The question hung between them like a bridge waiting to be crossed. Thomas had been thinking the same thing for days, but he hadn't dared voice it. His ranch needed a woman's touch, and his heart needed the companionship Sarah brought. But more than that, he had come to care for this brave, gentle woman who had appeared beside his fence line like an answer to a prayer he hadn't known he was making. "I'd like that," he said simply. "I'd like that very much." Sarah smiled then, the first truly happy smile he had seen from her. "I don't have much to offer," she said, "just these hands and this heart, and both have been hurt before." "Mine too," Thomas replied. "But maybe that's what makes us right for each other. We both know what it's like to be broken, and we both know what it takes to heal." As autumn turned to winter, Sarah made the ranch house into a real home. She planted herbs by the kitchen window and hung cheerful curtains in the parlor. Thomas built her a small library corner where she could read in the afternoons. They worked side by side, comfortable in each other's presence, building something new from the pieces of their old lives. On Christmas Eve, as snow fell softly outside and the fire crackled in the hearth, Thomas asked Sarah to marry him. said yes with tears in her eyes, and they were wed the following spring by the circuit preacher, with the whole valley in bloom around them. Years later, when people asked how they met, Sarah would smile and say that sometimes the best things in life happen when you're not looking for them. She had been running from one life and never expected to find another so perfect, so complete. And Thomas would add, with that gentle smile of his, that sometimes when you're lonely enough, the universe sends you exactly what you need, right beside your own fence line, waiting to be found. Their love story had begun with a train that couldn't take her where she thought she wanted to go, but had delivered her exactly where she belonged.